Okay, welcome to This Week There's a Book in My Nook. And my first book that I'm going to talk about is Chinese Cinderella. And this is by Adeline Yin Ma. And this is a nonfiction, believe it or not. I know Karen was shocked. I read a nonfiction book. But I thought it looked really interesting by the cover. And when I read about it, I wanted to read more. And this is actually about, it takes place obviously in China. And this is the story of, I don't really know how you pronounce her name. It's not really Adeline, but it's her Chinese name. And it's when she's little. She has four siblings. She's the youngest, and her mother died in childbirth with her.
Wait a minute. I'm guessing because this is nonfiction, this is a true story.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the true story of an unwanted daughter.
Okay.
She was the youngest, and she has three older brothers and an older sister. And her mom died in childbirth. So they all, they have different beliefs over there, and they all think that since her mom died in childbirth delivering her, that it's her fault and she's unlucky and she's a bad child. So her siblings don't even want anything to do with her and treat her badly. Then her dad remarries, and she's like part Chinese and part French, and she's supposedly extremely beautiful, and she's 14 years younger than him. And he really babies her, and him and her have two children together, and they treat them like royalty. And then all of his children from his first marriage are treated horribly, but especially her. Only one that really gives her any sort of attention is her aunt. She calls her Baba, and that was her dad. It's her dad's sister, but she was best friends with her mother before she died. So she doesn't blame her, and she really loves her and tries. But, it's the aunt. They're not really going to listen to that much. And she's extremely smart. So she goes to all these schools, and she wins these awards, and they just don't care. They're just horrible to this poor little girl. You just feel so bad. She has, at one point in this book, she has this pet duck. All of the kids get little ducks, and she has a pet duck. And the dad lets the dog kill her duck in front of everybody to prove a point that he was trying to train the dog, and he didn't really think the dog would do it. But it's her duck, and it was the only pet she'd ever had. And, it's just very sad. They send her to different boarding schools, and it's not like when they send her to these boarding schools, her dad's extremely wealthy. That's the other thing. But they spend no money on her. So when they send her to these boarding schools, she has no clothes. She has nothing. Like the one school uniform, and it gets tattered, and everybody makes fun of her. And she has money. Their family has money, but they're not going to spend it on her. And at one point, this takes place years ago, and there's war breaking out, and so they're fleeing from one part of China to another. They leave her.
Oh my gosh.
They don't care what happens to her. She's been left, and she's the only child left at this boarding school with, it's like with a convent with the nuns. There's nobody else is even there. And she's there for like 2 years. And
by herself?
Yeah, just the nuns and her. Because none of them from her family cares, and they don't come and get her. Wow. And her dad has taken the other kids, and they've exiled because he had some business doings and all this, and then all the politics going on. So then another relative finds out that she's there, and they don't know that she's treated this badly. And they think that somehow they couldn't get her away. So they come and get her and take her back, and her family's not even happy to see her or anything. It is just heartbreaking. She just goes through her whole life with no friends, and the one brother that's closest to her in age, he treats her a little bit better, but every time she thinks he's going to be her friend and he's going to stick up for her, then the other siblings talk him into doing something horrible. And she gets devastated even more because it's more of a betrayal that he did this. So I knew in China girls were treated badly. I'm sure you've heard that in the past, that they were treated badly and unwanted. But I had no clue till I read this book.
But I'm guessing because of the title, Cinderella, she has a happy ending.
It has nothing to do with a romance like you're thinking.
Right.
No. I don't know if I should tell you the ending. I guess might as well. She's extremely smart, and she wins a literary contest. And that's the only time her dad ever gives her any recognition. And that's only because his partners at his job are like, they see the headlines, and it was actually in the newspaper. It's like an international contest. Is that your daughter that won? They didn't even know she existed.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And he's like, oh, of course that's my daughter, because then he's getting... So then she finally convinces him to send her to England to college. I think it's to Cambridge. She wanted to go there all along, or Oxford, I'm not for sure. She wanted to go, and he wouldn't send her until she wins this contest. Then everybody's asking, so then he sends her. Well, she wants to go. Even then, it's not quite the happy ending because she wants to be a writer. So when he finds that out, he said, oh, no, you're not going for writing. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be an obstetrician, deliver babies, because that's what women do best. And that's what he sent her there for. And she actually, if you read, she does become a doctor. But then, obviously, she becomes an author when she's away from the family and moves over here to the States.
So the author, this is her story.
Yes.
Oh, so it's almost like a bibliography.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's really good. And like I said, I don't normally read nonfiction. But after this one, I kind of looked around in some of the other ones that I found. I have to tell you about this one. It's called Regine's Book. And this is about a girl. She's, I think, 16, and she finds out she has leukemia. This book
is a nonfiction book.
Yes,
also?
This is nonfiction.
Okay.
And this book is her blog entries. It's pictures and her actual blog. And you can go online, and her blog is still there. And this is all of her blog entries from the very first day that she
I'm guessing she's not here.
Yes, she did.
Okay.
But you follow her journey through her blog entries up until her last post is 2 days before she dies. And then her sister goes on and does some blog posts. And this is her book. And she's from Norway. And it's very sad, I will say that. To actually, I don't know, it just takes you kind of inside what
you haven't read this.
I've read part of it. I've went through and read. And just to read some of her posts, it is very, emotional.
It's leukemia that she has?
A rare form of aggressive leukemia. And at one point they think they have it kicked and she's in remission, comes back. From the time she's diagnosed to the time she passes, it's only 15 months.
Oh, wow.
And she's 18 years old when she dies. So
wow.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
But this is a good one. It's a really heavy book. I don't know why that book is so heavy.
Yeah.
It must be the pictures. But it is a very heavy book. Wow. And we have that one. And then the other one, find it. There we go. This is fairly new, and this is called Hidden Girl, The True Story of a Modern-Day Child Slave by Shamaya Hall. And this is about a girl it's in 1989 in Egypt. And her family is extremely poor, and they sell her to a wealthy family to be a slave. And she works 18-hour days taking care of this family. And they move to the United States, and they have her smuggled in, and she's still a slave over here until finally a neighbor figures it out and turns them in.
Did you read this?
I have not read this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It started out when she was 8 years old was when she was sold into slavery.
Wow. And how old is she when she's discovered?
Maybe 12?
12?
12 to 14, I want to say.
How can you take care of somebody at the age of 8?
Well, she did. They made her cook, clean.
How can you even cook at the age of 8?
I guess when you're getting beat, that's your option. You figure it out. But yeah. And now she works as a volunteer at the police department and helping because slavery is still a big thing, especially child slavery, helping other children that they've discovered and catching these people. She's a volunteer, and she wants to, when she gets older, that's what she wants to go into, as human trafficking. Wants to go into that as a career of helping.
Wow.
Yeah. So
interesting.
We have this one here too. So those are some nonfiction choices. Like I said, I'm not a big nonfiction person, but books like that make me want to read nonfiction too.
Right. So. Wow. That was like that one I read about, it was for Father's Day when I read the one about the guy who was helping his son rehab for drugs.
Right.
Yeah. It was a nonfiction
And all
book.
of these are in the young adult department, by the way.
Yeah. I think mine was in the adult.
I think it was, yeah.
I think it was. Okay. Well, as we all know, football season has kicked off. Rah-rah. And even though my team did not do very well, but we won't go into that. Anyway, my first book is called Making the Team by Nancy Carlson. And this has to do with Luann and Arnie. And Luann wants to try out for cheerleading, and Arnie wants to try out for the football team. And Luann just cannot do some of the moves that a cheerleader does. And so when she goes to her cheerleading tryouts, she doesn't make it. So she says, okay, Arnie, well, I'm going to try and devote more of my time to helping you. So she goes to him to his tryouts. Well, Arnie doesn't make the football team. However, the football coach comes to Luann and says, hey, you've got a pretty good arm. I'd like to have you try out. And you'll have to read it to see if Luann makes out. And then Luann
makes the team.
Makes
Let's
the
say
team,
not makes
sorry.
out. This is a children's book.
Oh my goodness. And she says to Arnie, she says, well, I know cheerleading tryouts are still going on, because when she was practicing for the cheerleading squad, Arnie was really good at doing cartwheels, splits, all that kind of stuff. And she says, hey, cheerleading tryouts are still going on. How about you go over and try out for the cheerleading squad? You'll have to read the book to see if they both make their teams. It's very, very cute. It's a very cute book. And
I'm telling you, you don't have to be gender specific.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of male cheerleaders out there, especially in the college.
Oh, definitely.
And, those guys have to be pretty built. I mean, they have to do a lot of working out.
When I was in college, I dated a college cheerleader.
Did you really?
A guy college cheerleader. But
and they have to do a lot of working out. I mean, their arms have to be strong. And
he was also on the track team.
Oh, really?
But that's at different times.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I mean, if you've ever gone to a college football game, they usually, when the team scores a touchdown or something, they do the push-ups, and they do like 7, 14, 21, whoever the score. And so those guys have to, and they do each and every push-up. So you got to be in pretty good shape.
And he was actually from Hawaii and got a scholarship over here.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. To be a cheerleader?
For the track. For track, and then did the cheerleading too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and I know there's a big controversy of whether cheerleading is a sport.
My personal take, of course I'm a little biased, I was a cheerleader all through junior high and high school. Mm-hmm. It is hard. Don't let me tell you, it's dangerous.
Yes. And I do know that when my daughter tried out, she had to get a sports physical.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So if you have to get a sports physical, then to me it's a sport.
And I had broken ribs at one time. I mean, yes. Mm-hmm. Can be very, you've had girls that have died in cheerleading.
Yeah, I know they have really cracked down on those pyramids that they do, and having the girls fall down. And all that. But when you go to these cheerleading competitions, that is such a big part of the competition that they can't totally take it out.
No,
So I say kudos to those girls who are brave enough to do that, in my opinion. And, of course, when I was in high school, you always made fun of the cheerleaders and all that. Yeah, We
didn't really have that at my high school, I have to admit.
Really?
No, it wasn't. I know what you're talking about. Right. But no, maybe by being a smaller school, I don't know. The cheerleaders were supposedly the popular girls, but it wasn't really where we got made fun of, I wouldn't say. Yeah. But anyway, I say it's very hard, so.
Yes, but cheerleading has evolved, so you can't say it's just a girl thing anymore.
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
No.
There's even
and there is, my daughter goes to a high school here, and they had to combine with another high school, and there is a girl on that football team.
Yeah, I've seen that before, and I know there's a local school around here that has a boy on their cheerleading squad.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so girls are starting to think, and I was just having this conversation with my husband the other day, I'm wondering if there will ever be, because yes, there are women football, but I haven't seen them in the NFL yet.
Right.
But I'm wondering if there will ever be a female coach. They've got the interview people, and they go into the locker rooms now and all that. So
or maybe they have women's basketballs, or would there eventually be a women's football team?
Right. But I'm wondering if it will ever get to the point where a woman can coach. Because, you listen to those announcers, those female announcers, they have to know a lot about plays. Right. They have to know a lot about football. So you're wondering, why couldn't they coach? I wouldn't want to, but there's some out there who maybe they do.
Maybe.
So, I don't know.
Okay, my next book, this should be interesting because me and Karen both read this book. So that doesn't happen that often, but we both read this one recently. And it's called Let's Get Lost by, which they had a die?
80, I thought.
80, I don't know, Al said. And this is a new release. It just came out, I think, a couple weeks ago. Okay, and it's about, there's actually 5 strangers. And it's about one girl, and she's doing a cross-country trip. What was her? Layla. Layla. Yeah. And she's on a cross-country trip, and it's about, she stops in these different towns and these other teens that she encounters, and it's told like it's more than a chapter, like they're sectioned off, like, so I can find where it'll do it. And it'll say at a section,
And it shows a map.
It'll have a map, and it'll say that name, and the next several chapters are that person's story.
Correct.
And I think we start out with Hudson as the first boy that she meets at the very beginning of her trip, and he's the mechanic that is working on her car to make sure that it's safe for her to go on to go cross country.
Right.
And she meets Hudson. Then the next one that she meets, is that Bree?
Yes.
I think it's Bree.
Who's hitchhiking.
And Bree's a runaway and is a hitchhiker, and it's about her story. Then you go on to Elliot. And Elliot, it's his prom night. Poor Elliot.
Poor Elliot.
Poor Elliot. You'll kind of relate to Elliot, I think. Elliot, it's his prom night, and he went with his best friend, which is also the girl of his dreams. And prom night did not turn out the way poor Elliot thought it would. In fact, when Layla first meets Elliot, he is laying in the middle of the road.
Well, he's contemplating suicide. yeah.
And he's been drinking, and it's not good. Then after Elliot, I think the final one that we have is Sonia.
Yes.
Yeah. Trying to remember what the heck was going on with Sonia.
She was the one that wedding.
Oh, that was a good
She had
one.
lost her boyfriend.
Sonia is the bridesmaid.
Right.
And her ex, I wouldn't say it was her ex.
No, it's her.
Her boyfriend had died.
Right.
And not that long ago, about a year or so ago, and it's his sister's wedding, and she's still friends with the sister and as a bridesmaid.
And the whole family.
And
really.
the whole family.
Yeah.
So it's 4 different stories told from those, and I actually enjoyed that. Now, Karen wasn't thrilled with the ending, we'll say.
Yes.
She thought the ending was a little cliche.
Yes.
I was fine with the ending. I kind of like when things are summed up and wrapped up, you like a little bit more guessing or...
Right.
So that's just different preference on how you like it. But I thought it was a different take. And I don't know how many people have went on road trips when there are a lot of, I should say, adults, older teens. Sometimes when they do get out of high school before they go into college, you always had people that would backpack
Well, you kind of got to give her. You got to kind of give a reason why she went on a road trip.
Okay, the reason she went on a road trip is she was in a car accident with her mom and dad and her sister, and they all died, and she did not, but she lost her memory.
Correct.
So she seems to think that if she
Which you don't know that till almost the end of the book.
Right. Yeah. But you know why she's on it, that she's looking to see the Northern Lights. She's going to Alaska to see the Northern Lights.
Right.
And she thinks that the Northern Lights are going to trigger her memories.
Right.
Because she can't remember hardly anything, but she can remember a story that her family told her about the Northern Lights.
Correct.
So she thinks seeing that will trigger it.
Correct.
And I think this is his first book.
Correct.
So he's fairly young, you said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I thought it was, I think he'll get better. I really do. I think the premise of the book was really good. And I think
yeah, who hasn't wanted to take a road trip?
That's what I said. A lot of people have when they were younger.
I don't think I would be as carefree as Leela was. I don't think I'd be picking up strangers and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe not, but I do know that when I was 17, 18, I was a lot more trusting than I am now. 17, 18-year-old, a lot of them think they're, I don't know, what do they say? They're
invincible, immortal.
Yeah,
yes.
so I can kind of see that sort of. I remember taking a lot of chances then that I would never do now and being a lot braver and carefree.
Right.
So that's why I think a lot of people at that age do take trips because they're more willing and eager to do all of that.
Right.
So I think it's a good one. I would definitely, I would read it. I think it's good. And like I said, it's written, from different points of view, which sometimes I have to admit for me can be a problem. I've read other books that have switched back, but it doesn't switch back and forth. Right. That's what I think makes it better.
Completes the whole story before
it
going
moves
on to the next
person.
Yeah.
Layla's the only connector that is in every story.
Right.
The other characters are not. So.
Right.
And
I know a lot of people compare this to Paper Towns. That's what it's being compared to, as Paper Towns. John Green's Paper Towns.
I didn't see it. Really?
And I talked to my daughter who read Paper Towns. She's like, no.
Yeah, I didn't see a resemblance to Paper Towns. No.
But that's what everybody's saying. That's a lot like Paper Towns.
I don't get that.
That's what I read in the reviews, at least.
Yeah, I don't get that. But I did like it, so. And it made me think of these books. This is a brand new one. We just got it a couple days ago. 100 Sideways Miles. And this is by Andrew Smith, who we like Andrew Smith. We've met him. And he wrote Winger.
Okay.
This is his brand new one.
Oh.
And this is about Finn Easton. And he has...
Now, have you read this?
No, I haven't read it. It just came in.
Okay.
And this is about Finn Easton. And his dad is like, how do I say, a famous, like... writer, and he has created this series and this character that everyone's in love with. But Finn feels like sometimes that he's connected to this character, and he has to try and make everyone realize this book isn't me. What my dad's writing about is not who I am.
Oh,
see what I'm trying to say? Well, he has this great girlfriend, and he has this best friend. And that's what keeps him grounded. There's these two people. Well, she moves away, and he becomes upset and kind of distraught. So his friend says, let's go on a trip to see our college choices in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And an unexpected accident happens when they're on this trip, and they suddenly become these great big heroes. And you'll have to read to find out what happened and how they became the heroes. But it is about kind of a cross country, not really cross country, but driving around sort of trip and how that changes them. And I think the cover's very cool myself. It kind of gets your eye as to this upside down horse in the clouds. So I haven't read it, but it's on my list. And another one is I'll Give You the Sun. This actually does not come out until next week. I do have it on my list, so we will be getting it in. And I also have this one on because it's also told, how do I say it, from different points of view. Like the one, Let's Get Lost has different characters in it. This is actually about twins, a boy and a girl, Jude and her twin brother Noah. And it's about how they're really close, and then all of a sudden something happens, and over the years they've drifted completely apart. And it's told from their points of views of why they think they've drifted apart, and how they've changed, and how they're going to try and come back together. So the first part of the book, I guess, is told by Noah, and then the second part of the book is told by Jude, which is the girl. So, and it's got a lot of good reviews. Like I said, it comes out next Tuesday, the 16th. And it is by Jandy Nelson. And I know she's written another book. I can't think of what it's come, but it was really popular and got really good reviews before this one. So I thought those kind of tied together. So those are my books this week.
Interesting. Oh, I did mean to tell you that we do have this book at our library. in the easy fiction. Okay, my juvenile book this week is Carlos is Gonna Get It by Kevin Emerson. And this is in the juvenile section. And this has to do with Carlos. Carlos is a 7th grade boy who has some issues, to say the least. And you really don't know what those issues are till the very end, but it really does not go into specifics of what those issues really are. However, I got to look at my notes because this book was very complicated, to say the least.
Really? For a juvenile book?
A juvenile book, it was complicated. The one thing you do know for sure is that Carlos believes in aliens. And he believes that he is visited by aliens, and he believes that when he is visited by these aliens, somehow they get inside of him. And so there are some days where he will show up late to school. And the classmates have learned to say that those are the day after. And what that means is that's the day after he's been visited by his aliens.
He tells everybody he's being visited by aliens.
He tells them that he believes in aliens, and he'll start scratching at his stomach, and his hair will be all messed up, and that's because he'll say that these aliens are inside of him, and that's what makes him behave in this fashion.
Has Carlos ever been to therapy?
In the end.
Okay. Woo.
And his mom's a single mom. She's a policeman, and she pretty well just lets Carlos do what he wants to do because she just really doesn't know how to deal with his issues. And that's it. The teachers don't know how to deal with his issues. They just kind of put up with his behavior. Well, the classmates are tired of it. They're tired of them getting blamed for Carl's issues. Because when he shows up late for school, it kind of disrupts the class. And the classmates will say something to him, and Carlos will say, well, it's not my fault. And then the teacher's like, quit picking on him. And it's just starting to wear on the classmates. And so there's this one girl named Thea. And she says, you know what? I've got a plan. We are going to get back at him. And there's like an after school year trip that they always go on. And she says, you know what? If he believes in aliens, we're going to show up as aliens. And we're going to give him a dose of his own medicine. If he believes in aliens, okay, let's show him some aliens. Well, Trina is one of his classmates, and she, yeah, he's a bother, but do we really want to go that far? Because we just don't know how this is going to end. And do we really, and how his behavior, do we really want to do that? And Trina's kind of having second thoughts. Well, there's a class project that is given to them, and Carlos gets to be Trina's partner. Well, she has to go over to his house, and she discovers some things about Carlos that, hey, you know what? Yeah, he has issues. Who doesn't have issues? You know what? He's an okay kid. I'm not really going to get involved with this plan, and I'm going to tell Thea I'm not doing it.
But she's not going to tell Carlos about it.
Correct, but she's not going to tell Carlos about the plan. She's just not going to be a part of it. She's going to let them go ahead with the plan, but she's just not going to be a part of it. Well, it comes to the day of the class project, and Carlos has one of his, he's not really the day after, but he has a problem that day and just causes the class, her and his class project to just explode. I mean, it's just a mess. And Trina's like, you know what? I'm done. You know what? I'm going through with this plan now, and I'm going to be a part of it because he needs to find out all the stuff that he's doing. And he just needs to learn a lesson. Well, they go, and let's see, what is it? Okay, well, they finally get to the class project. Trina is a part of the plan, but as she's going through with the plan, something happens which causes consequences for everybody involved that nobody saw coming. And it really, as I put in my notes here, the plan is carried out and will have consequences that no one saw coming, and it will change everybody's life forever.
Not bad, huh?
Because it's not only the people who carried out the plan, but the teachers are now involved. The classmates that had nothing to do with the plan are now involved. And it says that this is a book about bullying. That's what it is. It's about how this class was bullying him because of his issues that nobody could understand. And the consequences on everybody involved, from teachers to the parents of Carlos, to the parents of Trina, to the parents of Thea. Just some of the other, you never even hear about Thea's parents. Mm-hmm. And to the classmates and the victim and the person doing the bullying. And what it shows is that it can even have ramifications on people that were not even directly affected with the bullying aspect of it. And I mean, it is, the way it ends is, I guess, how it should end. If only all bullying cases would end up like this one, instead of some of the results that it does end up with when it gets to that point of no return. Luckily, this didn't get to the point of no return because of some of the quick actions of the teachers and things like that. But still, it just goes to show you how just because somebody acts the way they do, you don't know what issues they are dealing with or what the circumstances are of their behavior that makes them act that way. And you should look into it before it gets to the point of no return. Yeah, it was good. It was sad. But yet it was, being in high school and being that. And even as an adult, you see some people with issues and you think, come on, enough's enough. When it starts affecting you.
Into it. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
When does it become that it's uncontrollable, or when is it that they're feeding into it themselves and not getting help or making it worse? Or
well, and in this incident, Carlos and his mom, they knew, the mom kind of knew of the issues, she just didn't want to deal with them. And that's what sometimes you got to wonder, is the person so far, they just don't want to deal with the issues because of all the attention they are getting because of those issues. So, you got to, sometimes is it the person's, I don't want to say it's the person's fault because it's never a person's fault to be picked on. Never, ever, ever. So let me just say that. However, when that person does not want to deal with the issues or doesn't want to get the help to resolve those issues and it affects other people, where's that line?
Yeah.
And
as a parent, it's hard too because let's be honest, all kids have issues.
Right.
And
especially teenagers.
Yeah, and you don't know sometimes, is this really bad? Do I need to have something done? Or is this a phase? Or are teenagers are very dramatic, I'm sure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You'll hear from all of them at one point that it's the end of the world and they want to die. And,
right.
And it's hard to sometimes differentiate, is this really how they're feeling, or are they just emotional at that moment?
Right. Right. And in the case with Trina, when you have that gut feeling that something isn't right, it usually is your gut telling you something.
Right.
This is not right. Get out of it, and you need to tell other people about it. Don't let people talk you into doing something
Pressure
that you
you.
don't
Yep.
feel comfortable doing.
Because once you do it, you're part of it, whether you
Exactly.
have second thoughts or not.
Exactly. And even if you aren't part of the plan, if you have knowledge that the plan was going to take place and didn't say anything about it, you're just as guilty as the ones who carried it out.
No.
So, go with your gut. And if you suspect bullying, don't be afraid to step in. Because you don't know, the consequences that can have.
Yep.
So, every action has a negative and positive reaction.
We kind of had some heavy books this week. We did. Slavery, and we had cancer, and we had bullying, and we had
And now to get on to another, I don't know if you call it a heavy topic. The movie that I reviewed has to do with cheating, and it's The Other Woman that stars Cameron Diaz. What's the other one? Leslie Mann, which is this lady right here, which was in my kid's favorite movie, George of the Jungle. I don't know if you remember that, but she played the lady. Mm-hmm. And then Kate Upton. I don't even know who that is.
She's been in other things. She was a model.
Is she a model?
That's what I knew from modeling. Model,
yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, she's in it. Well, Carly, which is Cameron Diaz, meets this guy named Mark, who happens to be her husband. And she wants him, it's getting to the point where they're getting pretty involved, and she wants him to meet her dad, who's played by Don Johnson. And
is Don Johnson even old enough to play her dad?
They make him old. Well, I mean, he grew a beard and it's gray.
Okay, because he doesn't seem like he's old enough to be Cameron Diaz's dad.
Well, and I got to think of that. Here, Don Johnson used to be the sex symbol in Miami Vice and all that. Now he's so old now that he's playing dad parts.
Yeah, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. He can't do. Mm-hmm. However, as I'll tell you later on in the story, what do I want to say? He's supposed to be like a sexy dad, like a guy who, Mm-hmm. He's not going to go old. He's not going to grow old gracefully. Put it that way. Yeah, He's not going to go down without a fight. Anyway, so Carly,
Does she know he's married?
No.
Okay.
She does not know yet. So Carly goes ahead and has dinner with her dad, and she kind of just tells the guy, you know what, whatever, because he says he's going out on a business trip, and that's why he can't go meet her dad. And she's like, just storms out of the car at the intersection. He says, well, you call me when you're not as mad. She's like, well, don't be holding your breath, basically. Mm-hmm. And so she goes and, meets with her dad, and her dad's like, be proactive. Go to his house, because he said that his plumbing had broken, that his basement was flooded. And then he also said that he had a business meeting also. And he says, go there dressed as a plumber, be the sexy plumber, and go there with the what's that big plunger-like thing, And so, of course, she goes to the house, and all of a sudden, his wife answers the door. And Carly's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? And she says, well, I must have the wrong house. And the lady's like, well, who are you looking for? She says, I'm looking for Mark. She says, well, my husband's name's Mark. And she's like, yeah, but I don't think he's married and blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, the wife finally puts two and two together. She goes and now wants to be Carly's friend because she wants to find out all this stuff that's been going on.
Did her and her husband have a good marriage, or?
Well, no. In the movie, she's portrayed as this dumb blonde. Mm-hmm. And what he's doing is he's siphoning money out of this other corporation, and he's having her sign all these papers, like he's using her name on the dummy account, so that if anything ever happens, it's her name that's going to be the one that's in trouble. Yes. Okay, so her and Carly kind of put two and two together. Well, she breaks it off with him. She wants to get back at him, and then they finally figure out, wait a minute, he tells her that he's going on a business trip. She knows that he's not with Carly, so now there must be another one. And so then they finally figure out this other one. Then they all team down, we're going to take him down. We're done. And you'll have to watch the movie to see how they do it, but in the end, he gets what he deserves.
And he's the guy from Game of Thrones, isn't he?
His name is
I thought he was on Game of Thrones.
Nicolaj Waldau.
Yeah, I think he plays on Game of Thrones.
I have no idea.
That's Sydney.
I've never seen him.
I think
never
he
heard
plays
of him.
Jamie on Game of Thrones.
You know, at first he kind of looks attractive, but then there's parts where he doesn't look very attractive. And I do have to say, some of the stunts they play on him, like she decides he drinks smoothies every morning. She decides to put estrogen in the smoothies. She also puts Nair into his shampoo. And Carly is an attorney. So believe me, she figures out how, even though he's been using her how she comes out on top.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to see it. I just haven't.
Yeah. You know what? It's your typical cheating movie.
Comedy.
Mm-hmm. Some parts are, once again, it's like, okay, I've seen this, done it, it's been done, seen it.
Right.
We keep repeating the same old, get back,
mm-hmm.
get back. However, though, it does have some twists in it that does kind of, and what's even funny, like I said, with the Don Johnson thing, guess who he falls for?
Kate Upton.
And guess who she falls for? So they all end up with somebody new. So, yeah, you'll have to watch the movie to see who ends up with who. Yeah. In our songs, we've got some new ones. Thank goodness. Still, top radio song is Stay With Me by Sam Smith. We do have this in our system. The name of the album is In the Lonely Hour. Burning It Down is still the top country with Jason Aldean. As far as I know, it's still not in the system. New pop song is Boom Clap by Charlie. We had a discussion. Is it XCX or do you say the numbers? I don't know. But it's on the soundtrack of the movie The Fault in Our Stars. She is coming. It is going to be out on an album. The album is going to be called Sucker, and it's to be released sometime next year. And then the top hip-hop song is now Nicki Minaj with Anaconda. Had to cut it off because it's pretty explicit, and let me tell you, the video is very explicit.
It is.
Very explicit. Yes. And I don't know if you know, but there's another guy who had a song out called Anaconda, and it's intermingled with Nicki Minaj's Anaconda.
Was in, the 90s, 80s?
Something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I think it was the 90s.
Maybe
because it wasn't the 80s. I think it was the 90s.
Early 90s,
The same one when that one guy came out. I forget. He not only did Anaconda, but he did some other Big Butt or something like that.
Big Butts.
Yeah, Big Butts. Yeah, he did that song too.
Which is kind of...
Yeah, which is exactly what this cover is not showing.
And if you don't remember, Charlie's the one that's in Fancy with Iggy Azalea.
She is?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's the one. Charlie XCX, whatever. She's the girl in Fancy with Iggy Azalea.
I didn't know that. Wow, learn something.
There you go. Yeah.
And the name of Nicki Minaj's album is Anaconda.
Yeah.
So, you have to check out those songs. And no, we do not have Anaconda because it's just newly released. I don't think it's in the system yet. I don't think it'll be long till somebody brings it into the system. But you said
The Fault in Our Stars soundtrack is.
Yes. Oh, yes. The Fault in Our Stars. Yes, there's like 20 in the system, and all but 2 are left. Yes. Haven't seen the movie. Don't know if I want to.
Till Tuesday.
Because once again,
on DVD.
I read the book, and I know it doesn't follow the book just by watching the trailer, so
however, we are showing that as our teen movie this month.
Are you?
Yes, it will be, I think it's the 24th. It's the end of the month, and that will be our teen movie. I think I'm going to go out and buy Kleenexes and have them around in the room. Because I've heard,
you really think so?
I've heard, yes, that everybody I know cried quite heavily during it. And
I cried during
my teens will be a little emotional.
Do you think teens are really going to get that involved with it?
Some of the ones I have, yes.
Okay.
Not all, but some, yeah.
So. Okay. I thought maybe you're just going to have the tissues for yourself.
That could be true. That's why I kind of worried. I haven't seen it. And I'm thinking, am I going to be crying like really hard and they're all going to be looking at me? Yeah. Maybe I should watch it before then. So I don't know. But it's too many. Is watching it 2 times going to be too rough? I don't know.
Well, yeah. No, I won't be watching it, so.
So that's our movies, books, and music for this week, and we will see you back next week.